Hello and welcome to this discussion on your idea of future with Creative First. Our first speaker is Kanika Sasan, actor, entrepreneur, and an arts advocate for fostering India-Canada relations. Kanika, welcome to this discussion.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Loida.
Our second speaker is Jamshed Mistry, Counsel, Supreme Court of India and Bombay High Court, and founder, International Legal Alliance. Jamshed, welcome to this discussion with Creative First.
Thank you. Hi.
Kanika, as an artist working in the entertainment industry, how do you navigate contracts and agreements to ensure your rights over your performances are protected?
Hi, Loita. Thank you for your question and introduction. I am actually self-represented, so I don't have an agency or a third party representing me as an artist. So when you have your own representation, you have to be very tedious with all the details because uh, navigating through contracts is very, very pivotal for any artist or any organization in business because that sort of dictates the dynamic and the relationship between you and your employer. So, with that being said, it's always a good idea to, if you're representing yourself, in which in this case, which I am, to always go through everything and make sure that your rights and your rights are protected, you're represented well, and the other things like remuneration, timelines, and all are met on time. So it is a little bit of it's a little bit of a work, but then it's worth it. It's worth putting the time and effort in.
Jamshed, what are the most common intellectual property issues faced by creators in this industry, including the fashion industry, and how can they proactively address them?
I think the most sort of important aspect, I think, is learning. I mean, the awareness to begin with. I think most people who are very creative aren't necessarily sort of legally aware about even basic things like contracts. I mean, so first you must know that if you're in India, you fall under the Indian Contract Act. That's very important. The second aspect uh, is of course the different sort of rights that you have. I mean, both especially under the Copyrights Act. Most people aren't aware that copyright isn't a single right. They think it's a single right. It's not. It's a bundle of rights, and those rights sort of right from the time you begin as a creative sort of person, whether it's an artist, a writer, or an actor, all those rights finally merge into the final product, which is either the film or the play or whatever and of course now you have the OTT and you also have the online the cyber platforms which are quite different from what we've been used to. So I think what they essentially need to do is sort of understand every sort of clause in a contract, and also whether you're as a creative person sort of entitled to not only remuneration but also whenever in case something goes wrong, how to sort of first resolve it either through mediation, and then if not, the either an alternate remedy like arbitration or the final sort of resort of going to court.
Kanika, in your experience promoting Indian fashion labels through Adore by Kanika, what measures do you take to safeguard the originality and authenticity of the designer's creations?
So, Lohita, I have been working with different fashion labels and businesses from India that I've been representing through my business for the last 10 years. And when I started this, my entire goal and agenda with this was to basically take the work and art of Indian designers and craftsmen to Canada and showcase and educate people, an audience there about their work and what is the process that goes into it, the fabrics, the textiles, the handlooms, the clothing, and how much it involves our Indian heritage. So when I do take the responsibility of representing an artist work in India, first of all is it has to be authentically identified as the designer itself. So everything that was the consignments, the inventory was all sold by the designer's label itself with their packaging intact, with their labels, with their logos, everything. So My business is a multi-designer boutique. So I not only do one designer, so I basically showcase and retail multiple designers. So it actually impacts their authenticity, their work when it's sold under their name. So people know what they're wearing. People know who has done their outfit or who has done their jewelry and who is the person or the visionary or the designer behind it. And that gives me a lot of pride and honor to work with these creatives and to be able to showcase their work in an audience outside India.
Jamshed, in cases of cross-border collaboration, such as between Indian and Canadian creators, what should artists like Kanika know about protecting their IP in different legal jurisdictions?
So I mean, essentially, it's very interesting. Copyright the world over is very, very similar. I mean, as we know, we have, different conventions which actually renders protection to the copyright holder, not only, for example, suppose she gets her copyright done, say, in India, then automatically you get protection in around, 170, 180 countries. And that's usually not known. So typically what happens is people try and register their copyrights in different jurisdictions where they are working. This is as far as copyright is concerned. Uh, the as far as a trademark is concerned, yes, you have to. I mean, for example, if she's Adore by Kanika, if it has to be trademarked as an example, then you have to do the trademark not only within India but even in Canada separately, because that's how the the system functions. As far as uh, uh, other aspects are concerned, as far as contractual aspects are concerned, I think there is internationally there is no difference between the two countries. So whatever you're doing, the contract, again, you need to understand where the jurisdiction lies in case there is a dispute. And I mean, again, it depends where the parties are, because most civil jurisdiction, it arises where the party either resides or has its place of business. So, is it in Canada or is it in India? And also, interestingly, the Indian Supreme Court has now said that you can sue even if you are sort of you choose a third jurisdiction. Sometimes they do. They say, the courts in the US or California, even then you retain your original jurisdiction of where you reside or have your place of business. I think that's something that is new, but it's something very, very useful, and especially in cross border.
Kanika, with the rise of social media, how do you handle potential IP challenges such as unauthorized replication or imitation of a creator's work?
So, Lohita, that's actually been a challenge for all creators, all content creators, because social media being so big right now, and in the world being so small, you don't even. It's really hard to even notice if your work gets plagiarized virtually, because if you're not sort of tagged in the post or if you're not sort of mentioned, there's no way. But I feel authenticity still has a lot of control over it. People still know. I mean, the audience in today's world, even social media being such a dynamic force in today's world, our audience and our consumers are not blinded to it. They know. They keep their eyes and ears open. They look for authenticity. They look for the source. And even with all the plagiarism or people wanting to take credit for your work, there are still people who will kind of notify you or even mention that this work is originally sourced from this person or this organization. So that helps a lot. There's a lot of people who are validating the work of the artist and content creators. So there's a lot of support in that too. And I think with social media and with all the channels, it really helps if you protect your own rights, if your channel is verified, or if you have some kind of support, if you have two-factor authentication. There's a lot of small measures that you can take to protect yourself, and that goes a long way too. I mean, unfortunately, it is in the virtual, like digital world, but you have to do what protects you.
So to Kanika's point, Jamshed, when IP infringement occurs, especially internationally, what are the first steps creators should take to enforce their rights and seek remedies?
So I think a couple of things that you could do even before you sort of step out to actually take positive action. I think the first thing that you can do is actually insure yourself, against such cases. Now, sort of international, large broking companies are offering insurance reasonably sort of, affordable insurance now for such things. And because sometimes also you have to be careful that it's not just this sort of what you are doing. You've put out a genuine product. Somebody has gone ahead and done something wrong or misused it or not taken or saying that it is deceptively similar, things like that, and then unnecessarily you are dragged into it. So it is possible to have third party insurance in that sense, and which is a very good and important cover that you should take. As far as positive action is concerned, there are several things that you can do. There is both, civil as well as criminal liability that arises. There are two aspects. One is that if somebody has, gone ahead and used your, intellectual property, and then, of course, and you can identify them, then that's fine. Then, there are methods you can first send off a notice, legal notice. You can take them to civil court, ask for damages. That's one. And of course, both the Copyrights Act, in fact, especially in India, also offers the criminal liability that if you have done so, then there can be sort of in the olden days search and seizure. Of course, now seizing things virtually may be a little difficult, but you can certainly ensure that you get what we call John Doe orders, which means against unknown persons, and then criminal liability can be enforced, FIRs can be lodged, and lots can be done. So these are sort of values and systems that have been sort of promoted and ensured within both the civil and the criminal law system, especially in India, and to sort of a smaller extent in Canada, if I may add.
The next question is for both of you all. Kanika, how do you see intellectual property playing a role in fostering stronger collaborations between Indian and international creatives, especially in the media and entertainment industry and the fashion industry? And Jamshed, for you, it would be the legal aspect of the question.
Um, Lohita, I mean, with again the world being so small, the way the intellectual property plays such a crucial role in making sure that the collaborations, first of all, is identification. Your business or your as an artist, you're identified in the global market as who you are and what you do. So that is recognized at every platform. You have a platform where you generate your work from. So that gives you a lot of validation. Even with social media, there's a lot of businesses that are thriving and they have sort of created a community to support them. And with that being said, especially in India, because India has a vast population, social media and the followers, especially, it's the numbers are huge here. So that already gives them a little bit of a support when it comes to recognition and validation in terms of global market. So there's a lot of international, whether you're representing yourself internationally in India, your intellectual property is your stamp or on your work, and it definitely protects you and also sort of safeguards you in who you are and what you do, and also making sure that it's authentic and protected and guarded.
And Jamshed, from a legal perspective, how does the law really complement IP and, the role of IP to promote creativity?
No, I think to begin with, if you have, for example, copyright technically for example, many years ago, nobody really sort of went to a copyright office. In fact, it hardly existed many years ago. So what was the system then? I mean, what did Beethoven do, for example? He put the symphony that he wrote, he put it into a drawer and forgot about it. There was a time in, as they say, from the landline to the pager, you then went to a system where you actually sent the work back to you through registered post. Of course, now things have changed dramatically. So you can sort of register it online. You have the fact that it gets publicized in a journal, which means that it's not only what they call in personam, that is as far as an individual is concerned, but it's out against the world. And if anybody has any objection, they can actually object to and say that no, this is not your original work, but it is partly belongs to them. So that then shows that two things. It shows that number one, that you're professional. B, technically, what does the creative person really have? It's the IPR. That is his soul, and that is then encompassed and then put into sort of terms and words, and it is available to him as the original author, not only for his lifetime, but for example, in India, 60 years or more. So it's a very good space to be in, both professionally and otherwise. And I think internationally, once you sort of, even for purposes of negotiation and other issues, you can show that the copyright is yours. I think you then become sort of, they're looked at in a far better position, rather than going and saying that I've written something, but I'm not too sure who the copyright belongs to.
Kanika, Jamshed, thank you so much for this insightful conversation and discussion. Your IP of Future is a platform for young creators to understand the basics of copyright, and I'm sure they'll learn a lot from what was discussed today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lolita. Thank you for having us.
See you.
See you.